Hi there, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ken Hughes, and today I want to talk to you about authenticity, about brand authenticity, one of the most important values any consumer or customer has today regarding the brands they want to invite into their lives. They want them to be genuine, they want them to be real. And what is authenticity? I guess, look, the definition is quite simple. It's about staying true to your values, to your spirit, being real and genuine, regardless maybe of the pressures that are on you to be otherwise. And, psychologists and psychotherapists and philosophers have always questioned, what is the authentic self? Who am I? And to come from that intrinsic place. And for a brand, it's no different, because really as customers, we don't really want to purchase from commodity brands anymore, brands that aren't, standing for something. So to take a few simple examples, if you go into KFC, it's quite a commodity product. Whereas if you buy from a food truck, that's more experiential, it's more authentic, it's more real. If you go into a boutique, 6-bedroomed, independently owned, chic hotel, that's a real experience, it's authentic. Whereas if you go to a 300-roomed Hilton, it's not so much. If you go to a bar to have a gig, to see into the basement of a grubby, cool, grungy bar, and you see a band, a live, authentic experience, again, it's real, it's genuine. If you go to a big arena, a big stadium, it's less so. And so these ideas of, well, how can we harness authentic? What is real? How can we connect with the customer is the subject of today. Now, obviously, I'm going to come back to Taylor Swift and do the part 3, which I have promised you, around her masterclass in customer experience. We want to look at her authentic self and the way she uses authentic communication as a lever to build her tribal brand following. But before we do that, here's a really good example of authenticity. Here's 2 coffee shops, one of which is owned by Coca-Cola, a big multinational Costa, and the other one owned by 2 brothers with beards. Everyone in food business and food trucks and coffee shops have beards. I have no idea why. But look at the reason, look at the people who have voted with their feet. They have chosen a coffee shop that aligns more with their values. And we can see it in consumer behavior every day. And so what I want to talk about today, I'm going to talk about the Barbie movie, because let's face it, the whole summer everyone has seen the Barbie movie. I even wore a pink shirt today just because of Barbie. And so if you haven't seen the Barbie movie, it's a great lesson actually in authenticity. And so the plot is a very simple setup. There's a real world and there's Barbie land. And Barbie land is all plastic, and it's all around a matriarchy where Barbie can be whoever she wants, as Dr. Barbie, stereotypical Barbie, teacher Barbie. And Ken really only exists to kind of make Barbie look good. And then in the real world, there of course is the boss, played by Will Ferrell, the boss of Mattel. And in the real world, patriarchy rules, and it's all about capitalist greed. And of course, the obvious thing happens, the crossover happens, and Ken and Barbie leave Barbie land and go to the real world and see how bad the real world is. And go watch the movie if you haven't seen it. But what's really interesting is Ken's little journey through this. And obviously, as a Ken myself, I was very insulted that the whole movie's tagline was, Barbie is everything, he's just Ken. I thought, how dare they put in just in front of my name? But actually, that's the whole point of Ken's journey in the movie. So in the beginning, the narrator tells us that Barbie has a great day every day, but Ken only has a great day if Barbie looks at him. And towards the end of the movie, Ken has this existential crisis where he asks Barbie, who am I? Because it's always Barbie and Ken. I'm only relevant with you. And she blows his mind by saying, look, it's Barbie and it's Ken, as in you can be your own self. And so this is the whole point, that Ken realizes, he's in a codependent relationship. He only exists relevant to her. And then I started thinking about that from a branding point of view, because actually we are all in codependent relationships with our customers. We spend our entire marketing communications and lives as a brand thinking, look at me, please buy me, please consider me. And so we're this needy self to our customers. And we have to be our authentic selves. We have to know what our values are, what we stand for, independently of the relationship that we seek with our customer. Because think about this, in a personal relationship perspective, you would not be attracted to somebody who's needy and who needs to have you to complete them. This idea of, oh my God, my partner completes me. That is actually a codependent relationship. You're a healthy part of a relationship if you are already self-confident, full of self-belief, you've got your own stuff sorted out, and you then enter a relationship in that state. That's an interdependent relationship. That's lovely. But a codependent relationship is where you need the other person. And that is not a healthy place to be. It's very unattractive to want to be in a needy relationship. And that's what we are all in as brands and businesses. It's very dangerous. So let's focus on ourselves as brands. Who are we? What are our values? What do we stand for? And more importantly then, how do we project those values in an authentic way to our customers to connect with them? And the moment we do that, then they start to say, okay, I get this. Yeah, this is different. This is good. So let me give you a really simple example. I was in Dublin recently recently looking for a restaurant, and I went to this Mexican speakeasy restaurant called El Silencio. And basically, they don't exist on the web. There's no web page, there's no phone number. You can only book a table through an Instagram page. So you go in, you DM them, you get a booking. You turn up to this neon fast food kind of restaurant, cheap, and you go, this is awful. But actually, behind one of the coolers in the restaurant is a secret door. The guy ticks your name off the list. You go up the secret door into this wonderful, dark and edgy and urban graffiti sticker, really grungy bar serving the most amazing tacos and margaritas. And so there's this really wonderful experience hidden upstairs, which you can only get if you know about it. And so compare that to a Nando's, where it's all casual dining and all obvious and all expected. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for brands to know, be different. Once you are different, communicate those differences and then live that experience and let the customer see the authenticity that you have. And that brings us back to Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift, you have to ask yourself the question, how come she's the one breaking all the Spotify records, breaking all the Billboard records? Why is her Eras tour the biggest grossing tour of all time? Of all time, anyone's ever come before her. She's making more money out of this tour than anyone ever has before. Why? Why isn't it Rihanna or Beyonce or Lana Del Rey? And the answer really, to me, is the way she's kind of used authenticity all along the last 15 years. She has built her tribal fan belonging. We've had 2 blogs already on this, so you can go back into the part 1 and part 2 to look at the demand creation, the tribal belonging, the collaborative consumerism, all those things that she's done. But the authenticity is really, really interesting. She has always held true to herself and her fans. I mean, in dealing with high performance individuals, there's a celebrity self and an authentic self, and those two people, they have to learn how to kind of manage those two things, or else they'll be torn apart. But Taylor Swift and her Swifties all believe that that is one thing, that Taylor Swift is the girl next door, and she's used social media and technology to kind of have that experience with her fans all for the last 10 years. I'm going to show you a few videos here because I think it's better through video. You'll see the kind of what Taylor Swift projects to her fans, and you can see that authenticity shine through. It really is. She's a genuine person. She treats her fans well. She treats her team well. She treats journalists well. She genuinely cares about everybody, and that comes across. And then the fans, the customers, appreciate that authenticity. So let's have a look at a few videos. I actually have to kill the sound on these because obviously we can't use her music on this platform, but I'll talk over them because you can see what's happening. So this first one is where she stands on the foot of one of her dancers while they're in mid-performance. And most big celebrity superstars would do that. They certainly wouldn't apologize. They just clipped a dancer, something serious. If they did, they would do it backstage after the show. But here you can see her, as she finishes a sequence of dancing, she mouths the words, "Are you okay?" to the dancer. And when he doesn't see her, she turns to the girl next to her and says, "I stepped on his foot." She cares. She's thinking, "Oh my God, I stepped on my dancer's foot in the middle of that sequence." And that's something that, that is showing her vulnerability, her real self. Here's another one with one of her dancers, which is a great example. Again, this is at the end of a sequence, and one of her dancers kind of goes rogue and busts some moves in front of everyone. The crowd go wild. Watch Taylor's face as he does this. She's loving it. She loves the fact that he's stolen the limelight for a little moment and having his own moment. She's generous in that stage. She understands this is a team effort. We're all producing this show. It's not all just about me. And a lot of CEOs and C-level leaders could learn from this. It's not all about you. This is a team effort. Everybody in this together. And again, she is genuinely accepting and surprising of her fandom. This is a clip from one of the very early shows on her tour. And most performers wear 2 earpieces for listening to obviously the backing vocals, the instruments, and also stage management instructions as for a big show like this. This is the moment where she takes those out of her ears for the first time. She hasn't been touring for 5 years because of COVID, and she hears what 70,000 people sound like as they're shouting their adoration and their love to her. Just watch this. Watch the genuine nature of this clip. And so, you can see that she is this real person. She's bowled over by the love coming her way. And she gives that back to the fans also, She really cares about the fans always. The way her tour is set up, the back seats behind the stage are restricted viewing. Now, during the design and the selling the seats, they could decide not to sell those seats. But of course, the demand for tickets was so much that they would rather have sold a $50 seat. A Swiftie fan would rather spend $50 and at least be in the stadium, even though they can't see Taylor Swift straight on. So they put screens at the sides. The restricted viewers can have a screen view. But here, during the performance, Taylor literally hangs off the scaffolding towards the edge to kind of recognize the fans behind the stage. She gives them a big wave, and they go crazy, they're screaming at her. And so this is the moment where you realize that Taylor cares about everyone. She wants everyone included, and she does things beyond above expectations to be able to deliver to those fans. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to think about how can we be more authentic? How can we be real? How can we be genuine? How can we connect better with our customers? And again, going back to the team piece, she famously gave every one of her truckers a $100,000 bonus check towards the end of the tour to thank them for all the gear that they had transported amongst all the 50 US states. That's life-changing money for those truckers. She's happy to share her successes. And again, in terms of leadership, we need to learn from that, share the successes. And what's interesting about that is that she wrote these bonus checks by hand. She wrote them each a note. And she was going to give them to them the next day or two. Before she even got to give those bonus checks out on one of the last nights of the tour, she left the stage to a guard of honor down all the way down the road, all her crew and her truckers giving her a big round of applause for the tour that they're just finishing. She got so emotional, her father told the head of logistics the next day that she was crying in the limousine as she left at the the love coming from her own crew. And it goes both ways, you see. So she's created a brand where she's respected as the leader, she loves her team, they love her back, and this is what happens when you're authentic. When you're a real brand, when you stand for something, the people you work with, the people that you sell to, your customers, it's kind of like a triangle. And that's where authenticity is really important. So I want to ask you to ask yourself, looking at your brand, looking at your business, are you authentic? And the question is, if you can't actually put your finger on the values that you stand for, you're probably not. You're another commodity in another market. So what are your values? What is your essence before you go to seek any customer? Don't be codependent. Once you get those, are you communicating those values and essence in ways that mean something to the customer, that we're building some kind of connection? Once we're doing that, then we're starting to use authenticity, and that separates us from the other brands. It builds kind of the customer lifetime value, the brand loyalty that we're all looking for. So that's a little lesson on authenticity from Taylor Swift and from Ken in Barbie. Hundreds of you have been sending me messages all during this 3-part series on Taylor Swift saying, did you ever get tickets? Of course I got tickets. Taylor Swift would not let me out in the cold. I will be watching her Eras performance in Dublin in 2024. Bring it on. Until next time, I'm Ken Hughes.